Kimberly Crail is a wise woman, herbalist, and educator who came from Wall Street to the weeds. Casey's mission is to teach folks how to heal themselves using whole plants and foods as medicine. You can heal yourself with simple and inexpensive methods, foods, and herbs. And now, here's the host of Weeds of Wisdom, Kimberly Crail.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Weeds of Wisdom. Today's Tuesday, and it's November the 18th, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Sorry. I'm very excited. I'm going to have Dr. Judy Mikovits on with me again this evening, and we're going to chat up a variety of topics. So I'm very excited about that. And as a reminder, having spent, 30 years in finance on Wall Street before coming to the weeds, as an herbalist, I just want to remind everybody that, the business model of the medical industry is not really to get you well and healthy. It's basically designed to keep you just a little bit sick and then coming back so you can keep seeing the doctor and supporting the medical business model, as well as getting lots of prescriptions and vaccines and so on. And Dr. Judy has Cherokee heritage, as do I. And so I also remind people that, the ancient wisdom, part of the reason that I use ancient mother wisdom as my business name is that, we're created perfect. We're not really a set of bodies that need pharmaceutical drugs to be well. We're created perfect, and we're created whole, and we're created holy. So, that's the real truth of the matter. And I think that also seeing everything in the world as being our relations, not a thing to be dominated. The Native Americans, they believe all are created equal, not just all men, but men, women, plants, animals, everything. And when you see the world that way, you really see it differently. And you see things as this is your family now, right? So you treat it with more respect and maybe with more love. That's the hope. So anyway, so my guest tonight is going to be Dr. Judy. And I know that she's been on traveling, so she may be just a few minutes late joining us this evening. So I'll just teach you a little bit. And because one thing Dr. Judy and I definitely agree on is minerals. Oh, there she is. She's popping on. So Dr. Judy does Cardio Miracle and ProImmune. And I teach people how to use whole plants to get the results that they want. So these are the 5 herbs that I typically recommend and use on a rotation basis every day. There's comfrey leaf, red clover, blossoms, linden flowers, stinging nettle leaf, and oat straw. And they're very easy to make. It's very easy to make. You take 1 ounce of the dried herb by weight. Linden's the exception, 1/2 ounce. But don't worry, if you use too much, it'll just taste a little bit sharp, but it won't hurt you. Put that in a 1-quart glass jar, pour in a quart of boiling water, stir it up with a wooden spoon or chopstick, and you'll see that it absorbs quite a bit of the water. And then fill it up to the top, lid it tightly, and steep it for 4 hours or overnight. And then you want to strain off the liquid, squeeze out the plant material, and drink it within 48 hours, being in the refrigerator. And just to give you a sense of how much mineral content you're going to be getting, this is, and I'm trying to raise money to have all these tested as made, but this is basically the nettle nutrition that you would get from 100 grams of braised nettle leaf. Okay, so what I'm talking about is a preparation where you're steeping it under pressure and hot water for 4 hours or overnight. So the mineral content is going to be somewhere around 350 to 400 milligrams per cup of the infusions is made. So, but they're all different kinds of calcium as well. So, but anyway, you get the idea. And you also get a bunch of vitamins as well. And you're using a whole plant. You're not using a pill or anything like that. So your body's actually able to absorb it much more easily. And so I encourage you, if you have any interest at all, to register for my Introduction to Herbal Medicine and your Wise Healer Within class, because that will give you, it's a very comprehensive 5.5 hour, 3-session course, and it gives you really a great foundation and way to look at healing yourself. So, yeah. So, all right. So let's see here. We've got, I see Dr. Judy's trying to connect here. So, but I do encourage you to start making and drinking nourishing herbal infusions. I call them green elixirs because they're just amazing. And the other thing that's important to know is when your body is sufficiently mineralized, it will chelate the heavy metals on its own. You know, like I said, we're created perfect. Our bodies are created such that, oh, good. Here's Dr. Judy. Yes. So, yes, welcome. I know you've been traveling and you're out in the wilds of Idaho.
Hey.
So,
right,
hi, welcome.
Right, and we don't have internet, so I'm hotspotting you today.
Okay. Well, if you pop out, then we'll know what happened.
Yeah, I couldn't even get on the iPad. I had to pop on the phone. So I'm gonna switch and sit on the floor so I can stay plugged in, and
Gotcha.
that won't be an issue.
Yeah, no worries. Be comfortable.
When you're in healing centers, you do what you do.
You do what you do. Absolutely. And so that's great. I know that you have a very busy schedule and you're speaking and working with all kinds of practitioners all over the country and really helping, speak truth to power. Frankly, my tendency is just to avoid the power and speak to the people because they're the ones that, if there are enough of us, then, look, we're, like I said, we're created perfect and whole. So be as healthy as you can. And I know you have a saying, infection really comes by injection. And
so that's why we need MAHA. That's why we have to speak truth to power. And actually, I don't even work for MAHA. I serve the Trump Kennedy administration. I say, here I am. And so that's why, when we scheduled this a little while ago, it's like, yeah, I'm home around that time, just hanging out. Monday's FU Monday, follow up Monday. Let's just get it done. But we were at a MAHA summit last week in Washington, D.C., and it's critical to see that we can't stay healthy. Roundup is a soil killer. It's not a weed killer. And cannabinoids feed plant cells, and all animals, all mammals have an endogenous, that's in your genes, endogenes, God-given cannabinoid system. And the cows have to eat the plants, have to get the tryptophan, have to get the essential amino acids, because it's not food. Genetically modified food is not food. And I'm blessed to have been at that summit because they were going to go on. They're not going to let you take away their GMOs. And so Bobby and Trump are fighting, and we have to make sure we're there and we do constructive things and really think about the messages that are throughout. So the networking there for the old folks who have been in this game a long time, this is where we're going to get to give them advice from Jack Lyons Weiler at IPAC, the Institute of Pure and Applied Knowledge, which he started right around 2014-15 after I got out of jail, because in fact, this is the 14th anniversary of the day I was arrested. I mean, I should just say kidnapped from my Ventura County home, because there was no Judy Mikovits living in Nevada or Reno. And the criminals like Fauci made a little mistake when, and the criminals were actually the Whittemores and Harry Reid, and we know DARPA. And so they basically just wrote on our patents, Judy A. Mikovits, Reno, Nevada. No, I'm Judy A. Nolde, and I lived in Ventura, California since I got married October 7th, 2000. And David and I didn't leave. We kept two homes, one in Frederick and one in California. So it took me a year to get a job. Yes, thank you for running that on the bot. It took me a year to get a job. And it's very important to put your PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology in 1992, because what does that mean? Oh, so for 12 years, I worked as a fermentation chemist at the National Cancer Institute, and know that drugs aren't prescription drugs. Rapamycin. What is the mammalian target of rapamycin? You have to have nutrients to fuel the pathways. And they want you to think it's not that there's no such thing as a virus, and it's not the virus versus the terrain. That's just stupid. You know, it's which terrain? Your eyes, your ears, your nose, which terrain? And what is the microbiota? The microbes that eat, you know, that metabolize, that digest. You know, we don't have any food anymore. 98%. And that's why I always tell folks, you know, don't go to the grocery store, because not only is it not food, if it is organic, they're spraying it with a peel. APEL, which they lie. Oh, we grandfathered that in under the 2004 Botanical Drug Guidance Act. Gotcha. It's not botanical. These are synthetic. This is why they can't say vaccination.
They've corrupted the organic label as well. I mean, Ronnie Cummins, God bless him, he actually wrote the first book on COVID-19 with Robert Mercola. Many people don't know that, but that was the first book that I read. And he's been talking for years about how, you know, industry corrupts. It really does. And, you know, one of the questions I have, having, you know, lived in that world for so many years in big corporations, Wall Street and finance world, you know, one thing that's clear to me is that if we're going to have a new system, we really need to abolish the corporation. And because I don't think it really serves. It always serves to funnel all the money up in the hierarchy. And that hierarchy thing, I think, you know, only psychopaths want to rule. And so it basically produces, you know, I think we maybe cooperatives or something else, but we've got to really.
And that's where we had our communities. That's why at the events you and I go to, it's not cooperatives. This is unconstitutional. The corporation never was constitutional. And that's what Trump Kennedy have to fight. That's mostly the Trump side, you know, and we've got to understand our Constitution. And if you don't understand the difference between liberty and freedom, and you don't understand what you just said, the definition of organic to the FDA is what the definition of organic is to a biochemist and a molecular biologist. That is that it has a carbon on it.
Right. Well, it doesn't really mean anything.
You look, it's carbon. We can't tax carbon. It does mean something. Nitrogen, carbons. You can't use synthetic fertilizers. You can't be a vegan and be healthy, because the cows metabolize your DMG. Dogs, we don't eat grass. We will not have the enzymes in our gut to metabolize it. So the key is, and I really appreciated this at the Healing for the Ages conference a couple of weeks ago. And this is where, you know, Brian Artis, Ed Group, Henry Ely about water, and Jana Schmidt, bee pollen, you know, the herbals, but herbals are plants, and we don't ferment everything, and we don't get everything in every environment, but we do have that opportunity now, because we can go around the world like the National Cancer Institute did when I joined it in 1980, and we have the soil samples for everywhere. So we've got them in Fort Detrick in the fermentation program, and I learned at the Maha Summit, I could see where they were going to try to, unburdened by what has been, just change the names of everything. And we're AIDS, HIV/AIDS. It's not that HIV didn't exist. The virus HIV is not the disease acquired immune deficiency. And SARS-CoV-2, the virus completely manufactured in synthetic since 2004. So SARS-CoV-2 was injected in every polio shot since 2004, and every flu shot since 2004, and that's more at all journal. That's more at all Journal of Virology. And this is what they don't like, because I show you the truth. So HIV is to AIDS as SARS-CoV-2 is to COVID. Does a virus exist that a human being developed an antibody to? Magic Johnson, November 7th, 1991. I defended my PhD thesis November 4th, 1991. All they asked me is, based on your thesis, will he or will he not die of AIDS? And I said, he'll never get AIDS. He'll never get AIDS. He keeps his innate immune system healthy. How does he do that? By exogenous phyto plants. Get your nutrition for plants. When I write my endocannabinoid slide, and the ECS, the endogenous in your genes, every human being has a different endocannabinoid system. It's the dimmer switch. It's a lipid signaling system. So it's literally fats with signaling molecules called sensors, called receptors, called envelope. And they're not spike proteins, they're spike peptides, and they're lipopeptides because they're in a circular piece of membrane. Human beings have phospholipid bilayers that separates your plasma from your blood. So anytime you inject it directly into the blood of Jesus, of course, you're going to be infected by injection. And that's exactly what Magic Johnson was, 34Y. Because Tony Fauci told you the only people who could get HIV and therefore AIDS. Okay. Then HIV is used together with AIDS, but LAV, lymphadenopathy virus, the virus that was associated with gay-related immune deficiency. Gay-related immune deficiency, what does that mean? So it's very important to use your words. And so you see in 2004, your National Cancer Institute and your Institute of Aging put out a call for papers, a call for 2 investigators from any 2 of the National Institutes of Health. So Frank saw the announcement as an intramural inside the system investigator, and one of our good friends from the Biological Response Modifiers program, where we did family studies and we looked at different locations. Why is one family member sick and not? And so that biological response modifiers. All you're looking for is a biological response modifiers. And of course, those are things in your environment. And those are things that are, the word virus means poison. So they asked, my thesis committee said, yeah, I love it that it's weeds of wisdom, because when everybody asked me, Judy, how is Trump Kennedy, how, make America healthy again? And I said, grow, baby, grow. We've got to get the weeds back in the dirt so our plants are nutritious. That's your oil. Plants have retroviruses. All that means is the poison writes the RNA backwards. It's got two genes that no other family of viruses has. Integrase, it cuts open. And this is what your idiots want to call CRISPR. No, your God gave you a CRISPR in all environments for all body systems, whether it's your eye, and that's called, that is an enzyme that literally opens up your DNA and inserts a correction into it. God did not make cancer causing genes. Humans do not have oncogenes. There's no such thing. No, God, the cancer BRCA1 is a radiation repair gene that makes one loop of a 5-strand protein complex. And so one protects you from radiation. Oh, so what do you never do to a breast cancer patient? Irradiate them. So like we can use the tools. Yeah, but they're doing that on purpose. So that's why this summit meeting is so important, and why I love and appreciate both men, because they don't have to do this. And it's brutal out here, I guarantee you. And that's why every one of us go on our own dimes, like we do to the Stay Awake tours, because if we can't educate people and we can't communicate, and this is where we get the conflicts, like, methylene blue. No, methylene blue is very dangerous when it's in air pollution, and that's Sloan's book. And methylene blue is very dangerous when it's used. It can turn into an asbestos. It can literally cut through yourself because you don't understand the pathways. So this is, it's the pathways. We've got to, you're exactly right in what you said in the beginning, but we've got to completely shift the paradigm of medicine to how do we strengthen our God-given pathways? Well, we need nutrients. And if our soil is dead, our food is dead, or we have no nutrients. But you can't just take, our sweeteners are all poison from aspartame on up. It's not the alcohol that is poison. It is the chemicals in the alcohol. It's not the caffeine that is poison. That was our major antioxidant. It was coffee. It's the poisons in the coffee and in the soil and the fungus and all the other things, because we don't have any of the weed killers, literally the bug killers. The parasite cleanses are in the soil, and it's the microbes that metabolize, and that's tryptophan and tryptophan. Our scientists, our scientists don't need to know, but our doctors don't even know the 11 essential amino acids. What does that mean? That means our body doesn't make them. We must get them from food. And methionine is our methyl group from the soil. S-adenosylmethionine uses ATP. This is your regenerate energy machine. So when you have post-exertional malaise, it doesn't matter whether your malaise is at the mitochondria in your brain or your heart, which is your biggest muscle, or your muscles. If you can't regenerate in ATP, you can't regenerate because you have no methionine, because your cows aren't cows, and the cows aren't peeing on the soil because they're treated by PETA. They're milked by not human hands. That you've got you butcher a cow in the same place you butcher a pig. No wonder you're sick. You took the guts of one animal, and that's what you did in that infection by injection. Never
Yeah.
once did they clean up the cell lines. Cell lines. They're transformed. They're immortalized. They cause cancer. I developed those cell lines in order to ferment the viral vaccines, and the best and the brightest and the strongest in the best and the brightest and the strongest in
So
our
you were cooking
environment
up.
are
So
people
you
of
were
color.
right. So you were working for the National Cancer
Institute.
You were an institute,
Yep.
and you
National
were
Cancer Institute.
right. Okay. So you know, as always, you know, you have unpacked a lot for us here in this first segment. And just to quickly summarize the main points, and then we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. But it sounds like, you know, the big thing is, you know, nourishment, but it's difficult to get nourished by our food today because of what they've been doing to our soil. However, the biggest threat is still infection by injection. So we're going to come back in just a couple of minutes and continue this fascinating discussion with Dr. Judy. So stay with us here, folks. Thanks.
Well, if people want to learn more, because we have a lot of information, they can also see the study results and go through a lot of stuff. Or if they want to purchase, you guys are going to have to provide a link. Yeah. Now, there's no membership fees. There's no obligation. This is not an MLM. This is not you got recurring fees, or there's no catch, okay? People are going to sign up, give up their name and their email, and make their password. They accept the terms and conditions, and they go right through. And that's the way it works. So you don't have to buy every month or none of that kind of stuff.
The UNX Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes, made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the UNX Network website at unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hi, welcome back to Weeds of Wisdom. I'm here with my friend Dr. Judy Mikovits, and we were just chatting about a lot of things, but health really is the big topic, right? How to really be healthy, and how to overcome a lot of the true misinformation, which is basically advertising in a nutshell. You know, we've really been misled, and a lot of the real information's been hidden and censored over, you know, our lifetimes, and probably for generations now. And that explains why, as you were pointing out, Dr. Judy, most physicians don't really understand even basic nutrition. They don't understand the basic functions of how the body works, because the training has been sponsored by the big pharma, big medical complex. And so instead of really learning about human health and how to keep people healthy, they've only been learning which drugs you prescribe for which things, and enough anatomy to get by and cutting up a cadaver. But of course, the surgeons go a lot further than that. And we're thankful for those sorts of folks. But I think the real thing is that, you know, we've been manipulated, mesmerized into seeing these white-coated MDs as some sort of gods. And
medical deity.
Medical deity.
That's exactly what they are.
And that's, you know, and that's so disempowering. And I think the message that we both bring is that we are more powerful than we've ever been allowed to believe. And that's why the information is suppressed and hidden. The second factor is, you know, if you look at the business model structures, what you'll discover is that the more processing involved is the more profit. So if you buy broccoli on a farm stand, it's going to be the cheapest kind of broccoli you can buy. But if you buy that broccoli chopped in the grocery store, it's going to cost more. And there's going to be profit involved because there's processing involved. And then if you buy it in a can, it's more expensive yet, and so on and so on and so on. So, and then it ends up in packaged food, you know, etc. So it's yes.
Yeah,
so the profit opportunity is for whole, you know, things from the earth, plants, animals, is small compared to the profit margins on the processed products made from our brothers and sisters, the 2 legs, the 4 legs, and the ones that are planted. So,
yeah, but there's one other issue. It's not just profits. That's how they're poisoning your food. Mm-hmm. And you gave a great example on that commercial that you just played, and it said it right there. Oh, the legal limit of THC, you know, not on your life, buddy, you know, because CBD and hemp makes rope. So even though that may be one of the best CBDs, and I would say if you need that, you need CBNs and you need CBGs. And we do have a class that is ongoing right now on the RCUB, where you're now on us with RCUB. So people can see those tape classes and go back and learn this stuff as we're putting these things on, because you see, they said the legal limit. Well, you can't regulate God. So in fact, what they don't want you to do, it's not pharma, it's us. We took God out of our country. You know, we're one nation under God. In 1876, we took Bibles out of the school. We took, you know, Thomas Jefferson, where I went to University of Virginia. He's our founding father, who is the scientist. It's nature. Right. He used to just catalog plants like you and I do, you know, and put mixtures, their recipes, and you use a bit of this, a bit of that. If you take straight turmeric and you're a redhead, you'll be flat out depressed before long, and it doesn't matter how the quantity is. And and so, you know, that's what we've done. So Dr. J, that logo means solution, and we personalize the solution for the human and the individual. One of the most important and fascinating things that we learned, and why they're holding on so strong, is that in fact, our physician in our Constitution, in our founding fathers who signed the Declaration of Independence, was Benjamin Rush. And he and Thomas Jefferson said, if we let our government decide what foods we can eat or how to regulate, you know, what you grow, we need all the strains. We need the Harlequin strain. We make GLP. We don't inject snake venom or conejo snail or poison. We don't inject those GLPs. We get A, D, K, and E from bee pollen, Jana Schmidt in Ages. But again, Jana Schmidt's definition of organic and what they tell you on the farms is it's pesticide free and blah, blah, blah. That's what the fruit and vegetable, the bad people, the the people that are processing and poisoning our food by genetically modifying it. You can't do that. And we know that from a 2014 Trends in Parasitology paper. They took away each one of the key enzymes that we could only get from the soil, that we could only get from, for instance, and then they from carrots. Well, carrots are grown under the ground, and if the water supply is contaminated, if they're spraying heavy metals in the air, what's the easiest way to clean up your organic food is to take your fruits and vegetables and soak them and fill your sink with a half cup of 20 mule team borax. I didn't say drink it, folks, for those of you who love to turn that into, if it's good for them. No, we're not cows. And what did I learn back when I was fermenting? Interferon, the alpha interferons, all of them, alpha, beta, lambda. Oh, that's your endogenous God-given dimmer switch on inflammation. So the interferons interfere. That's lupus, plasmacytoid dendritic cells. That's less than 1% of our white blood cells that have to say which poison we're seeing. So you see, they've systematically and on purpose poisoned our food. It's not alcohol that is poison, it's the chemicals in the alcohol. So you see, the big pharma isn't the problem. It was.
It's always the chemists. Uh-oh, you're frozen. Oh no. Uh-oh, we're probably going to lose the connection. Well, anyway, so the problem isn't, it's really the chemicals, I think is what she was going to say. And one thing I know, she's a chemist, she's biochemistry. And I had last week, as you recall, we had another biochemist on the show, Dr. Ben Goins. And, chemistry is, really the wild, wild west. I mean, talk about being able to, I think there, and somebody correct me if you know the right answer in the audience, but I think there are somewhere several 100,000 chemicals actually circulating in our food and our water and our clothing, et cetera, and so on. And only a few hundred at most have ever been tested. And more keep coming onto the market, this idea of better living through chemistry. And, I think, wasn't that GE's, we bring good things to light. That's right. But better living through chemistry seems to have been the motto. And I think my point is that we don't really need chemists to help us access the healing goodness of our planet and for our divinely made bodies. All right, here she's coming back on, hopefully. So, so we don't need all of that stuff. There she is. Okay. There she's back. Hey, girl. I knew when you froze, you were like, and I was like, the problem is chemicals.
Well, no, actually, what I also said was it was always regulatory agencies. It was always. And so you see, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, so in case I get cut off again, you see there was a video that was, how convenient it was. It was published and it was cut up, and it was called about our book, Plague of Corruption, which of course, pandemic and everything else I do was made to tell you.
Yeah, it fooled me. I went and watched it.
And so it fooled you because they cut out the key, and where I'm going to tell your audience, and see, a lot of people said, oh, that was wonderful. And what it was doing is it was blaming pharma. And that's your one world order. It's your government. It always was your government. Right. And that's why 911 caused the cancer. And that's everything they don't want you to know. But do you notice that's my book? That's my legal defense. Kent Heckenlively was not my co-author. He was my lawyer, my attorney. And that film was actually made in September of 2020. And these dates matter to Trump Kennedy. And it especially Trump. Okay, so the 2019 was when we caught them big time, when for Truth About Cancer, I gave a talk called Persecution and Cover-Up on October 12th, 2019. So Corruption is the movie and the book on which Pandemic was made. And that's Mickey Willis, of course. You see, so that movie was made in September of 2020. It was filmed in 2020 here in Ventura, where I live, and throughout my house, and literally talking about Paximune, which is bovine interferon. Well, bovine interferon acts on humans. Interferon does act on cows, and common interferon does act on eggs. And that's why you have to inject it to get the levels up. And what you're doing is driving. So you see, they knew, we knew what was going on. So this film I saw, and what we did in this film, what Kent did in this film, and I'm calling him Captured right now. He's not my co-author, he's a lawyer. And the book you want to read is, Plague, our first book. One scientist intrepid search into the truth about human retroviruses and disease. Yes, they always were infected by injection, but they're not made from other human cells, or are they? Oh, yes, because we use aborted fetal cell lines. So since I got cut off here, if we get to talking about different things, so last week, and I'd encourage you, let me see if I can get that in there. Last week, Aaron Series' book, Vaccines, Amen, The Religion of Vaccines. You see, it's a cult called scientism. And what the journal articles are doing, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to explain to you that the scientific journals, there were 3 reviewers of our 2009 science paper that was submitted May 6th of 2009, and you're going to hear it all the way through Plague. The foreword is called "A Disease Able to Affect the Economies of Nations." So we submit this paper to the journal Science.
Hold on, you're going to have to repeat that.
Be like the BBC.
You're breaking up, Scotty. Can you repeat that?
Okay. Yes. So we submitted this paper to the journal Science. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now you're good.
To the journal Science on May 6th, 2009. And the dates really matter. And in this Maha Summit, they showed the head of the FDA and Marty McCary, he showed the graph. And it was 2010, and that's when our health took a huge dip. Well, what was the problem? There were many variants of many spike peptides, and they were gamma retrovirus containing as SARS-CoV-2. Every polio vaccine, it's part HIV, part XMRV, and part SARS, in a synthetic lipid nanoparticles. What are synthetic lipids? Why don't we call it seed oils? So why don't you eat them? Because, you're going to package every one of the, as it extrudes from the cell. An exosome is your own body sending fire trucks to the fire. So it's very important to know where you're going with this. So at any rate, this is what we knew, because there from June 10th, 1980, making interferon, purify it from botanical, just like you showed us that purified CBD. Well, you need cannabis, you need CBN, you need CBGs. You can't use CBD everything. It'll cause lung disease. It makes rope. And so that's what they're doing when they put it in a vape. Cigarette smoking causes cancer, not nicotine. And nicotine isn't a chemical. It's in 1,200 foods, as we know from our friend Brian Artis. And so so what we're doing is putting together recipes of things, but we're coming very close to where we have no food. Aspirin's not aspirin. So they created Rise syndrome, and that was always vaccine injury. And look it up on your AI. Oh, they created that in order to cover up.
I had Rise syndrome.
So it's vaccine injury. You didn't have anything of the sort. All these syndromes are a lie, so they could get you Tylenol. So, acetaminophen's in everything. They took all the aspirin out, and very quickly you're not going to be able to get willow bark and N-acetyl-salicylic acid that actually works. We isolated the oils. That's the value in the, I'm going to say, of the oncogenics that we made, because we use the, and Fix, P-H-I-X. You'll see those products on our website, but what we're doing is we're protecting the pathways. And when people come to me like and Dulce, Natalie, Nicole, and Greg, they came to me with this sweetener, and it was a recipe. It was a combination of allulose and Madagascar vanilla and thaumatin. And I'm like, oh, this looks good. And I said, show me, do the AI, do the meta-analysis, and show me by weight. That just tickles the pathways that regulate both your NRF2, that's sleep, anxiety, and your mTOR pathways, the mammalian target of rapamycin. But you see your GROX and where they're going in all of this is they're going to change the course of history, and then they will own you. They cannot change your DNA because we are not our DNA, we're our chromosome. And our stem cells, and that's why wise woman and ancient mothers are so important. Your antivirus for everything environmental is your X chromosome. That's why it's harder for little girls to get autism. And Down syndrome is not old women, it's vaccine injury. And so was Rise syndrome. If you go ask it that, Grok, I fight Grok for fun. If you go ask it that, it's so we're educating Grok according to the lies, and that's what we have to work so hard to stop. That's why we have to tell the truth. So this film was made in 2020, and when I saw it in there were 3 reviewers of the science paper. John Coffin, he worked part-time for Tufts in Boston, and he was a special volunteer to the AIDS drug resistance program for 45 years. You think maybe Lenny Horowitz was right, and we got AIDS and Ebola in 1963. So we had a little problem in this country when we killed Kennedy. And so we know Judy Baker and others, they didn't care whether they killed Kennedy and Castro first. And you all know I always speak from data. Just look at the books on our website, Lee and Me, Lee Harvey Oswald, and what your CIA did. So when I made the cell line by understanding the signature of disease at both the mRNA level, we changed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma to a curative disease. All you have to do is look up Lou Stout, S-T-A-U-D-T. And I was running, then my 21st year, I was running the Lab of Antiviral Drug Mechanisms from 1999 to 2001, May 11th was my last day. My first day at the small pharmaceutical company called Epigenetics Pharmaceuticals in Santa Barbara, California. We cured all of that under a small business grant and an STTR. And that's exactly the way the government is supposed to work. And that's the whole point. That is the whole point, that your innovation in these 2 companies, Genius Omniture is the other one, and all we did was use botanicals as adjuvants. So we're going to get this now because what Aaron Siri revealed in this book it's so well done, was that science isn't medicine, it's a religion. It's medicine or medical journals. John Coffin, Jonathan Stoye, Wellcome Trust, and a man named Tony Komaroff. So I hope your educated office will ask who these people are and ask what they were doing to create AIDS, acquired immune deficiency causing manufactured, whether it was monkey, mouse, cow, dog. You have to grow a virus in a cell line, and they never cleaned up the cell line. What do you think DTaP means? Barbara Loe Fisher, a shot in the dark. Barbara, 1984. So Trump was, I mean, not Trump, Reagan
she's an OG.
They already shot him once.
Yeah. Barbara Loe Fisher, I've met her. She's amazing.
So why did Candace Owens steal her intellectual property, her trademark, and film a few years ago, Shot in the Dark? You know, I went through my pastor a couple of times and I said, change that. And why it's factors, why is there one knows? Oh, the reason it's not changed is because now we're going to try and pit everybody against each other based on, you know, religion. We're not one nation under religion. We're one nation under.
Uh-oh. Lost her again. All right. So she'll be back. I'm sure she'll be joining us momentarily. She's got a terrible connection from wherever she's at. I think she's in Idaho, she mentioned. So that's pretty remote. But what I wanted to say, I guess I'll wait till she comes back on, but yeah, I had Reye's syndrome when I was 13 years old, and I was in a coma for 5 days and I was not expected to live. And when I woke up, I had no short-term, she's coming back, hopefully. So I want to also talk a little bit about what I've researched about that. So we'll see here. There she is. All right. She's back again. It's fun playing whack-a-mole with you. She's here. She's gone. She's back again. But I was just saying, I just wanted to ask you a question because I did have Reye's syndrome when I was 13 years old. I had not had any vaccines in the preceding that immediately, not like my mom with the flu shot and her pulmonary embolisms. But there was an outbreak. I was in an outbreak area. There were several hundred cases in Indiana and Michigan in 1974. And there's a pesticide called phenithrion, I believe it is, that has been linked to potentially causing. So my theory has been that it could have been that they were spraying that, because I grew up in corn country in Indiana, right? And so, but I don't know. But the point is that our bodies don't just go out of whack on their own. They have to be attacked by something man-made, right? Essentially, right? Because
manipulated is a better way to say it.
Manipulated. Oh, that's great. Yes. Love that one. Oh,
it's manipulated. Fantastic. I asked Frank, could I say synthetic? Frank Rossetti. And he said, no, say manufactured, that we manufacture thing instead. And we're all at fault if we all stop going in Starbucks, if we all stop going in, if we bought these powdered recipes. Yes, there's everything. And in fact, I think you were showing, before I got cut off in the commercial, you were showing Masterpiece. Mm-hmm. That's a fabulous formulation, but the problem is if you don't put it, I put it in my Cardio Miracle, because if you can't measure the effects, which Cardio Miracle did, just like Natalie Nicole did, she measured. See, if you can do the AI and you prove where the light is shining, then you can get this. So you see, they created Reye's syndrome, and you're exactly right. Outbreaks, so there are outbreaks, but what did you do? What did that drug do? Look and see if it killed the plant's ability. Willow bark is where we get aspirin and the salicylates, and those are all run by long chain non-coding RNA. Who is Richie Shoemaker? So you see, our God gave different kinds of RNA, messenger RNA. That's the central dogma of molecular biology, that your DNA is written, it is transcribed into messenger RNA that kicks out of the nucleus. It's your chromosome only opens the little piece of message it needs to do, and then that goes out into the cytoplasm of the cell, where it either becomes your on-off switches, your epigenetics, or it actually makes the proteins in the endoplasmic reticulum, which is the highway in the cytoplasm, in the endoplasmic reticulum. Come on in, we're getting ready. I'm going to run up this second. Okay. And so in the endoplasmic reticulum, that's where you put the glycnax, you put glucose and N-acetylcysteine. We do that in our bodies. And that's basically, and then you export them for the cell. Post-translational modifications is what you can't do in anything recombinant. And oh, by the way, ceramin doesn't come from pine needle tea. It comes from a deadly chemical called toluene. It originally came from a trypanosome, a blue worm, in a dye called trypan blue. It's synthetic, and they lie to you. And so it was the injection of it. And that's why I keep talking about these natural products, because that's why I love the global healing, the microsomal, not liposomal. We cannot make lipids, because all our lipids are synthetic. So I'm going to have to say goodnight now.
Okay.
And let
well,
you
it's
finish
been a
off
fabulous, yeah, but it's perfect. We're just about on an hour. So it's been great to have you, Dr. Judy. As always, I appreciate your perspective so much. And I really honor our native elders and the people that have maintained this knowledge. And I really do encourage people to go and get educated. And DrJSolution has got a lot of stuff there, including my introduction to herbal medicine class. So thank you so much, Dr. Judy.
It's really RCUB, because we've even built RFK, which is Real Food Knowledge, and it's a physical location in Punta Gorda, as you know, and it's going to be fabulous.
I know my friend Cheryl's moving down there December 1st.
Yeah, we're getting it. So we'll let you finish, and thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Judy. Appreciate you so very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Me too.
All right.
You too.
Bye for now. So thank you so much, folks. So next week, always love having Dr. Judy. And so next week, and I have been doing Masterpiece, just so you know, for about 9 months. So if you're interested in that product and you want to get a little, just check it out. There's a link. I think I have a bit.ly or something. Anyway, you can check it out at Human Consciousness Support. And I think it's called Weeds of Wisdom is my code if you decide you want to buy something. But it's a great product. It has 2 ingredients, zeolite and sea plasma. And so, if you are interested, please do check it out. Next week, we're going to be having my teacher, Ms. Susan S. Weed, who is the author of, I think 5 or 6 books, and also does live trainings, apprenticeships for budding herbalists such as myself. I completed a shamanic herbal apprenticeship with her in 2008. And then in 2009, my best friend was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 cancer with a 12-centimeter tumor in her chest and 2 mets on her adrenals. So she's still walking around. So that is what actually launched me into teaching. And so next week, we're going to be talking with Susan primarily about hormone replacement therapy and menopause, because now that the black box warning has been removed, the signal is, hey, it's great to take hormone replacement for menopause. And so we'll talk about the pros and cons of doing so. So in the meantime, I do encourage you to sign up for my class, Introduction to Herbal Medicine and Your Wise Healer Within. And that's available on ArcHub, or it's also available ArcHub.io, where it's also available on the unxnetwork.com. So please do and go get educated. It's my class is basic nutrition, some of the herbs that I find foundational in terms of nourishment and minerals, because most chronic problems I find are related to mineral deficiencies. So please do go get educated. It's inexpensive. Herbal medicine is the people's medicine. It's inexpensive, or it's free, and it's what's given to us along with our perfect whole and holy bodies. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and be sure to tune in next week for Susan Weed and her graduated apprentice having a great discussion about menopause and the metamorphosis that it is. So thank you so much, and I wish everyone green blessings and good night.